Welcome back, book buddies. Today we are going to read 4 stories from this Thomas and Friends Annual 2023. The stories we are going to read are Thomas's Fuzzy Friend, Cleo's First Snow, A Thomas Promise, and Chasing Rainbows. Let's go! Thomas's Fuzzy Friend. It was a sunny day on the island of Sodor. Thomas, Nina and James had pulled into Knapford Station when they heard a strange noise. Ruff, ruff! A little dog was sitting on the tracks. A doggy, puffed Nina. Maybe it's lost, poor thing. Thomas wanted to help, but the dog quickly scampered away. Later that day, Thomas was busy whizzing down the tracks when suddenly, ruff, ruff, the little dog had jumped onto the lines again. You can't play on the tracks, doggy, Thomas gasped. The dog wagged his tail. Thomas smiled. Come on, hop on board, and I'll take you to find your home. Engines can't have pets, Thomas, warned Annie. Pets are a big responsibility. But the little dog had already jumped onto the cabin. Ruff! Clickety-clack, clickety-clack. Thomas and the dog were soon whizzing and whooshing all around Sodor. Thomas puffed and chuffed all day long, but he couldn't find a home for the dog anywhere. Don't worry, I won't give up, puffed Thomas. The doggy wasn't even listening. It had spied a squirrel in the distance. Ruff! Quick as a flash, the dog jumped out of the cab and chased the squirrel down the tracks. No, come back, Thomas called out. He pumped his pistons and steamed after the runaway dog. Faster, faster, faster. Doggy, doggy, puffed Thomas. Bumpety bump bump. The track ahead was old and bumpy. Thomas didn't notice a big branch ahead. Crash. Thomas rocked and rolled and skidded right off the tracks. Oh no, poor Thomas was completely stuck. Ruff! The little dog grabbed the driver's hat and scampered down the tracks again. Screech! Thomas puffed. Looking after a dog is hard work. Little did Thomas know that the little dog was off on an important mission, a mission to rescue Thomas. Later that day, Sir Topham Hatt was busy talking to a family when he heard a noise. Ruff, ruff! The little dog had found its way back to Knapford Station. That's my doggy, the little boy gasped. Fuzzy! Ah, so that is your dog, smiled Mr. Topham Hatt. Then he noticed that the hat in the dog's mouth. Hang on, isn't that Thomas's driver's hat? Ruff! Barked the dog. Is Thomas in trouble? He asked the dog. Ruff, ruff. Right, we need to follow that dog, said Mr. Topham Hatt. The dog took Mr. Topham Hatt all the way to Thomas. What a clever doggy, Thomas cried out when the dog arrived with help. In no time at all, Thomas was safely back at Knapford Station. Sorry for the fuss, blushed Thomas. I just wanted to help the doggy. So Topham Hatt smiled. It looks like it's found a home after all. The family on the platform hugged their dog. Dogs are a big responsibility, Thomas said to the little boy. I'll never lose my Fuzzy again, said the boy. Thomas was happy the dog had found his home again. He was also happy to have a rest. Looking after animals was hard work. Ruff, ruff! Cleo's First Snow. When Cleo woke up one morning, Sodor was covered in snow. What's all the fluffy stuff? She gasped. That's snow, smiled Ruth. Enjoy it while it lasts. But Cleo wasn't so sure. Cleo felt a bit scared of the snow. Don't worry, that's just a little snowman, Ruth said. Slowly, Cleo started to enjoy the snow. Maybe it wasn't so scary after all. Whee! But later that day, the snow started to disappear. I'm afraid snow melts in the sun, Ruth told Cleo. Poor Cleo didn't want the snow to melt. I'll save you, snowman. But the time Cleo had got home, the snowman had completely melted. Oh no, sobbed Cleo. I'm going to miss the snow so much. This gave Ruth an idea. The next morning, Cleo woke up to another surprise. Ruth had made a snow machine just for Cleo. Now Cleo could enjoy snow every day. I love it, giggled Cleo. Snow forever. A Thomas promise. One morning, Thomas was showing his friends how high he could stack some wibbly-wobbly tracks. I bet I can go higher, said Diesel. He tried to pull the flatbed from Thomas. No, you can't, because I'm the number one engine. Thomas clung onto his tracks. Heave, pull, heave. Oh dear, crash. The little tracks flew all over the rails, just as Gordon whizzed into view. Poor Gordon jumped and lumped with a bump. Gordon's coupling had snapped in two. How am I going to take my cargo to Whiff's recycling plant now? Steamed Gordon. Well, I can take half and Diesel can take half, said Thomas. It's a Thomas promise. Gordon agreed, and the engine set off. Do you want to race? Thomas asked Diesel. Last one to Whiff's recycling plant is a rotten rail spike. Now Thomas could show Diesel that he really was the number one engine. Thomas' wheels turned faster, 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 but he skidded into the wrong side of the track. Whoa! Thomas cried as he leapt over Kana just in time. Bump, bump! Gordon's cargo tumbled onto the tracks. Thomas felt silly for going so fast, but he still wanted to win the race. When the cargo was back on board, Thomas steamed off to catch up with Diesel. Time for a track attack, said Thomas, but sneaky Diesel had another plan. He quietly flipped some of his heavy cargo onto Thomas's tracks. Now Thomas' cargo was heavier than ever. Puff, puff, puff. Poor Thomas couldn't pull his trucks for another second. Snap! The trucks came loose and Thomas skidded down the track, backwards. Up ahead, the tracks were all broken up. With a flip and a flop, Thomas spun in the air and landed with a splat. Thomas had stuck into some very muddy bog. Luckily, Sandy, Carly, and Percy soon arrived to pull Thomas out. I guess I'm not the number one engine after all, blushed Thomas. You don't have to win everything to be a great engine, said Sandy. Maybe Sandy was right, and Thomas couldn't give up on his delivery now. He still had to keep his Thomas promise to Gordon. Back on the rails, Diesel was causing all sorts of trouble. He was spilling his Gordon's cargo everywhere. Luckily, there was someone on Sawder who could save the day. Thomas to the rescue! Thomas worked hard to pick up every piece of Diesel's lost cargo. When Thomas finally rolled into the yard, Diesel was already there. I won the race, Diesel sang out. But what a shock he got when he saw that his own trucks were empty and Thomas's were full. You may have arrived first, but Thomas kept his promise, said Sandy. Thomas realized that winning wouldn't make him the number one engine, but keeping his promise definitely would. Chasing Rainbows. Listen to this story all about Rainbow and Sawder. When you see a picture, join in and say the word. Rainbow, rain, Thomas, Kana, mountain. It was a very grey day on Sawder. Thomas and Kana were playing in the rain. Splish, splash, splosh. When the sun finally came out again, something amazing appeared in the sky. Ah, rainbow, said Kana. Do you think there's a treasure at the end of the rainbow? Thomas wasn't sure, so they set off to find out. They chased the rainbow all over Sawder. no matter how close they got to the rainbow, ran away. All the engines came to help, but no one could catch the rainbow. Suddenly, Kana noticed that the rainbow dipped behind a strange mountain. Quick as a flash, the friends whirled around and around the mountain. When they reached the top of the rainbow, started to disappear. Thomas felt sad. Then he noticed an entrance to a secret station. Look, gasped Thomas. This can be our secret house for our biggest adventure club. The engines cheered. We might not have reached the end of the rainbow, but we have found some treasure, giggled Thomas. Treasure for us all to share. And there's a nice flag with a rainbow and a mountain. Thank you very much for joining me again today. Do come back so we can read more books together. Please like and subscribe. Bye!